The miracle method. Throughout the ages, a major challenge has confronted the great teachers of truth. It had to be met by philosophers, psychologists, science, and teachers of religion. That challenge is, by what method can the human mind be reached with the truth that sets it free? Offhand, this would seem to be no problem at all. We might answer, why just tell people about the bright new life they can have? They will respond eagerly enough. Yet we know from tragic evidence that this is not so. Even a brief glance at the headlines reveals that men have lost the ability to respond to self-enrichment. The mind of man, far from welcoming advancement, resists it fiercely. The ego-centered self, fearing defeat at the hands of truth, fights back with every weapon it can frantically grasp. The human mind, when faced with the very power that gives light and liberty, has invented a multitude of evasions, resistances, rationalizations, and counterfeits. Faced with this challenge, the great teachers of history developed ways and means to carry the truth beyond these mental barriers. They have discovered methods for giving a man his first magnificent glimpse that leads to his true self. Of all these techniques, only one was widely used at all, and it was superbly successful. It worked. People took command of their own lives. Inner strength replaced weakness and fear. Problems unraveled. An entirely new self-identity appeared. Anger and anxiety turned to calm. Physical ailments vanished. Each new day, which formerly threatened another terror, now presented another conquest. Lives took on fresh meaning and permanent purpose. Regardless of the human problem, no matter how disastrous or how long it had lasted, a healing took place. The technique proved all-powerful. What was it? The mental picture. What is a mental picture? A mental picture is a scene played upon the screen of the mind by means of a story or anecdote. The mind is helped to see a certain truth. For instance, we have just read The Adventure of the Swiss Shepherd. That story conveyed a picture to us. It impressed the intellect with a profound principle. The value of psycho-pictography or mental pictures is enormous. We shall see how and why as we go along. For one thing, the thinking process itself is largely a projection of mental scenes. That is why constructive visualizations are essential to our health and happiness. In this book, you will be presented with many stories and illustrations that create positive mental pictures. These illustrations are the means by which the truth reaches and enlightens the mind. We can call these illustrations by various names: stories, examples, case histories, analogies, anecdotes, even jokes. But the purpose is single: to give the mind a constructive course of action to follow. They guide the individual into doing what is necessary in order to emerge with a new life. Say, for instance, that you have a difficult decision to make. As hard as you try, you cannot make up your mind. Then you read an anecdote about someone in a similar situation. You discover how he handled it. Perhaps he gave up fighting his problem and simply relaxed from it. The action loosened his mental powers, enabling him to think in a new way, and the answer came to him. This man's success formed a mental picture in your mind, and now you have a clear and practical course to follow. We may not immediately understand a particular idea that can help us, but we can understand a mental picture that illustrates it. So the picture becomes a sturdy bridge. It helps us to cross over from the known to the unknown. It connects one level of understanding to a higher level. We ascend from a literal understanding to a psychological insight. The use of stories to convey a principle has another interesting advantage. Because they are pleasant to read, because we enjoy them, they permit passage of the truth with minimum of resistance. Stories are like friends who bring us unexpected gifts. How mental pictures work for you. An absorbed mental picture goes to work at once. It transforms our thinking. Like a powerful current beneath the surface of the sea, it supplies energy and wisdom, even when we are not consciously aware of it. Quietly it works, giving us whatever we need for a conquest. This enormous secret was known and used by all the great teachers of history. The New Testament presented mental pictures by means of parables. Zen Buddhism did likewise with its anecdotes and analogies. Ancient wise men like Socrates and Plato taught with stories and legends. Moderns like Emerson and Thoreau made full use of illustrations in their lectures and writings. Why? Because mental pictures speak a language that everyone understands. All of us are capable of forming mental images and of drawing meaning from them. Dr. Rainer C. Johnson explains, "The great teachers have therefore always entrusted truth with most confidence to parables, which, because of their simplicity, picturesqueness, and association with everyday life, are a thought form most likely to be remembered and least likely to be corrupted. Each man, then, can perceive that depth of truth to which he has a capacity to respond." All this is of thrilling significance. It means that anyone can start exactly where he is, regardless of his present knowledge or understanding, and go on to higher levels of fortune. A mental picture, once implanted, works ceaselessly and effortlessly. You have heard the ancient saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. We can modernize it by saying that a mental picture is worth 1,000 hours of effort. Let's review our discoveries about psychopictography. 1. We read a story or illustration or anecdote. 2. That story impresses a picture upon the mind about a successful course of action. 3. The mental picture becomes a permanent power that channels all our natural energies, emotions, desires, physical forces, and so on, into a similarly successful action. 4. We more and more develop the causal ability to succeed in our chosen areas.